If you want to stop looking like a calisthenics noob, you need to stop training like one.
And I'm not talking about just being a beginner. I'm talking about doing things that show you have no idea what you're doing. And a lot of people end up stuck there for way longer than they need to be.
And one way people do this is by trying to jump straight into exercises they're just not ready for, and then getting stuck there for months or even years, just because they never built the foundation.
And you see this all the time. Somebody wants a planche, so instead of spending the time developing their straight arm and scapular strength and working through the progressions of their current level, they instead go right into attempting harder progressions that they may kind of be able to get into, but are lacking majorly in the fundamentals. For example, training your tuck planche or even full planche because you can kind of hold the position, but you're doing it with your arms bent because you can't train it with your arms locked. And this can be a major setback. Because they're strong enough to at least hold themselves elevated, they keep training it wrong, thinking they're progressing when they're really only getting better at a bent arm planche, but not any closer to the actual planche. They think this is the fastest route, but it's not. And unless they break the cycle of always going for the bent arm planche, they never achieve a real one. What they should do is start from the beginning. Training planche leans and scapula push-ups, you need to master these previous ones first before moving on to the harder progressions. And the same goes for any other skill. Rushing to a level your body can't support yet will never give faster results. Building a strong foundation, working through progressions, and strengthening your tendons, joints, and muscles will. So don't skip the basics.
And this next one can make even someone doing a planche look like a noob, and that's weak scapular strength.
Their scapula collapses and their body drops instead of staying straight and elevated. But this doesn't just apply to high-level skills. This matters with the basics too. From pull-ups to push-ups to dips to handstands. If you can't depress in a pull-up, retract in rows, or elevate overhead, everything you do is gonna look and feel weaker. That's why you should be prioritizing your scapular strength from the start with exercises and bands in movements like hanging scapular pull-ups, scapular push-ups, planche scapular protractions, front lever scapular retractions, and more. These might not look as exciting, but they're what actually hold your strength together, giving you more control and more stability, making every rep and every skill stronger. And if you have a cable machine or even better an amp machine, you can strengthen your scapulas with incremental changes of resistance at the turn of a dial with exercises like scapular presses or retractions, so you can quickly progress and increase your scapular strength without even needing to do these advanced skills.
And this is where a lot of people go wrong. Instead of fixing that foundation, they move on to this next mistake, spending all their time on moves they think look cool, but really don't give much benefit.
Stuff like elbow stabs, frog stands, things that you think might look cool, but don't have much transfer to progressing your calisthenics skills, strength, or physique. Now, that doesn't mean those moves have no place if your goal is to just have fun. But if most of your training is built around doing tricks that don't transfer much to anything when your intention is to get better at calisthenics, you're better off spending your time on skills and exercises that actually do have more carryover towards building strength and muscle while also developing your skills. For example, like training a 90-degree hold, which helps with your lower back and core strength, versus doing an elbow stab that primarily just uses balance. Or training your handstand against the wall and pressing with your fingers to get your feet off the wall to build your balance, instead of doing a frog stand that really won't help with anything. The same amount of strength is required to train both. And the irony is both of them can be trained at the same fitness level. It's just up to you to decide which one you're training.
And when that isn't working, a lot of people try to fix it by adding more stuff, which is when equipment starts getting used the wrong way.
A resistance band can be a game changer when used correctly, but if the band you're using is doing more than half of the work for you, you're using the wrong band. You should be using a thinner one, or even just an easier progression. But it gets even worse when it's set up wrong, like trying to train a planche while the band is pulling you backwards from your feet or your body at an angle instead of straight down. So not only are you making the exercise easier, but you're also making it less accurate to the real skill too, since the direction of the assistance is now forcing your muscles to resist the pull in a way that actual skill does not require, which is why some people can look good with bands, but the second they're gone, the skill disappears too. And on top of that, some people even use bands to assist handstand push-ups before knowing how to hold a handstand, which isn't just pointless since you're not developing your balance, it's also dangerous. The exception to this would be using the band to assist you if you already have a handstand hold. So you're using it more as an assistance for the strength benefits with skills like planche press, 90-degree press, or handstand push-ups if you can already hold a handstand. But you still wouldn't wrap the band around and between your legs, having the assistance awkwardly pull from under and behind you, which would also affect the resistance of the band by shortening it, making it tighter. What you should do is keep the band at your waistline and using a clip behind you. You can stay locked in without the band slipping off when you're inverted. But again, if you don't have a handstand yet, you're better off using a wall to practice or doing elevated pike push-ups. Both are safer and will actually build toward the movement better for your level. And by the way, on that note, you can just download the Calisthenics app right now for free in the App Store and take my handstand program, which will tell you exactly what to do step by step every single day to unlock your handstand as fast as possible, even starting from a complete beginner. But anyway, most of the time, the reason people end up using equipment wrong like that in the first place is because they saw someone else doing it and just copied them. So make sure that doesn't happen to you.
And that's why this next one is so important, because learning from the wrong people won't just slow your progress. Even worse, it'll keep you stuck looking like a noob.
Whether it's someone who just started training or someone who has been training for years and still hasn't mastered basic calisthenic skills or even figured out how to do them, if the person you're learning from isn't progressing over time, what makes you think you will by following them? That's how people end up training for years, doing the same workouts over and over again without ever getting better. You might feel like you're being consistent or you're putting in the work, but if nothing is increasing, not your reps, your strength, or your skills, then you're just getting better at staying the same or comfortable. Instead, you should be learning from people who've already done what you're trying to do and following a path that's proven to work. That's why even after training calisthenics for over 15 years, I still train with and learn from others who have achieved skills I'm also pursuing.
Another mistake that makes you look like a noob is only training what you're good at.
You'd think it makes you look better, but it actually does the opposite. Somebody might be able to hold a handstand or has decent flexibility, so that's all they focus their time on. And every workout turns into the same thing, handstands and stretching, while they ignore everything else. And while you might think that's productive because you stay in movements where you feel comfortable, long term, it just exposes your weaknesses even more. Since every other skill gets neglected and you end up training for years, but are stuck with the skills and physique of someone who just started. Instead, focus on your weaknesses and don't be afraid to be a beginner again when learning new skills. The time will pass anyway, so you can either stay the same or actually improve and become a well-rounded athlete. But this really all comes down to one thing: training to look advanced versus becoming advanced. Remember, you can't fake your way to a real planche, a real front lever, or any advanced skill.
That's why the people that actually get there are not worried about how they look. They're mastering the basics and focusing on weaknesses so that progress comes naturally. And if that's something you want, training with structure, progressions that match your level, and step-by-step guides to master all the hardest calisthenic skills, getting you not just looking strong, but actually being strong, then download the Calisthenics app right now for free in the App Store and stop being a calisthenics noob. Thank you guys so much for watching. I really appreciate it. Leave a comment down below. Let me know what you want the next video to be about, and subscribe if you haven't already. And lastly, big announcement. We now upload every Thursday at 12 p.m. USA Eastern Time. So I'll see you next week with a brand new video. Mad love. Peace out, baby.